travel the world, and that's what he has done. So I also did. So many of you guys watching have done the sell your car thing. That's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're ready to blast off. You sell your car. That's that commitment to go location independent. So we talk all about that future of remote work, what it's really like living out of a suitcase for 6 years. You know, you're probably more than 6 years now. How many years have you been?
10. Well,
10.
yeah, I mean, I'm not living out of a suitcase right here, right now, but I'm on the move. So I could be in a year's time.
Awesome. Exactly. That's what it's all about. Being where you want to be, when you want to be. Okay, cool. We're published live. So yeah, I'll go back to your website here if you guys want to check him out. He's got a very successful podcast agency as well, which is another thing I'm very curious about because I got to step up my podcast game. I just do. And so maybe we can throw some tips in about that. But yeah, for people that don't know you, like where are you located right now, and kind of what's your quick background and kind of what you do?
Based here in Singapore, and I'm not from Singapore. I'm from colder climates, as we were discussing off air here. London. I haven't lived in London for 10 years. So 10 years ago, I did that, fired my boss, sold my car, traveled the world. The boss at the time actually had my own business. So I saw the boss as my business. The fact you could build a business and it could actually be the boss of you, which is actually an interesting trap to fall into, because you start a business thinking that you're going to have all this kind of freedom, and then you end up just having a reasonably well-paid job where you work Saturdays and Sundays. So it was really trying to break out of that and then go travel. So we did a bit of traveling. I'm sure we'll go into that today. And then I'm back here in Singapore. So it's sort of been a 10-year loop, which is still ongoing. So it's not the final chapter. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's like the world is a huge fucking place, and you can be where you want to be when you want to be there. Like that's the whole fucking point. I
know that he's in Bangkok and I'm in Singapore. How about that?
Yeah,
that's the beauty of
same,
this,
but
right?
different. It's a short little
Nobody
flight.
knows.
Yeah, cool. So let's start it off with just jumping into this question. What is life really like living out of a suitcase for 6 years?
It's the short answer. So imagine
the uncut truth. Yeah. What's the reality?
Unvarnished.
We see all these Instagram, stories and posts and vlogs in Bali and, digital nomad life. It's paradise and rainbows all the time. What's it really like? What do you tell people?
Well, there's two parts to that answer then. There's one about Instagram. We can talk about that. And the first part really is about what's it really like, which is, most people's lives, they have comfort. So, some people around you. You go to an office, you have your local communities, you're part of your neighbors, your family, your extended friends, and so on. You take all of that away, what happens is effectively you take the floor away from your existence, and you also take the ceiling off. So there's no ceiling and there's no floor in your lifestyle. So what it means is when you're traveling and living out of a suitcase, because you don't have that comfort and that routine and identity, things like that, I am this person, I go to this job, I have this role, and so on. I live in this place where I grew up. Because you don't have that, the highs are much, much higher and the lows are much, much lower. And they will test you. They will stress test your relationships, your beliefs and everything that you're doing. And in many ways, you'll go through those dark moments where, you have serious doubts about what you're doing. So it ain't all rainbows. It's tough. Yeah. And you're very vulnerable as well. In the mechanics of it, if you land in a place you don't know, like you fly into Bali or you fly into Bangkok and you're with your family, you're hungry, you don't know where you're going to stay, you're hangry, all those kind of survival mindsets kicking in here. That's tough. You spend a lot of the time on the road looking for food, right? You take all that stuff for granted. So it's hard.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
eating is a full-time job.
And you're in survival mode. You're foraging.
Yeah. So so when I call it blasted off to
Yeah.
go location independent, you had your own business. Was it like already a successful business? So you weren't like trying to figure out like how do I make a living
Mm.
remotely, or did you already have a remote thing set up? Because when I started, it was like hadn't made money online yet. Just kind of jumped in, sold my car, and kind of just went for it. I'll figure it out on my laptop.
Yeah. That's sort of what
And
a lot
so
of people are doing now, right? They're
yeah,
kind of
well,
jumping in.
it's part of my journey, and I get that question a lot. Like, should I have an online income
Right.
stream
Right.
before I blast off, before I quit? And I have many videos about this, and it's really up to you and your life situation. There's
Mm.
many different factors. How much savings you have? Can you go back to your job? Is that a thing? Your responsibilities back home. It's just so many factors that lead into that decision. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to light that fire under your ass, like you figure out a way to earn remotely or go back to the
Mm.
job. If that's what motivates you, if that's what you want to do, then you can do it.
For somebody like you, that may be a good way of doing things. And you're obviously a survivor and somebody who figures it out. And you jump in at the deep end and you figure it out. And that
Hmm.
works for some people, but not everybody. That's the thing, isn't it? And that's, I think, key in terms of strategy is tailor making the strategy for you, because you're probably more of a risk taker than the average person.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting into location independence who aren't necessarily like huge risk takers. They're not sort of like the really extreme
Yeah.
foragers in society that were probably, years ago, the first ones, the Chris Gillibos and the people who went out, Tim Ferrisses who
Mhm.
went out and did all this stuff. But that is important, because if you go and become location independence and are in survival mode, you're either going to survive and thrive or die, right? And die literally means coming back. It's not going to be fatal.
Yeah. Is it you're not gonna die? Yeah.
That's right. But you
You just
will
yeah.
maybe come back home with your tail between your legs. At least you gave it a try, right?
Yeah.
That's the main thing. For me, it
Yeah.
was I had a telecoms business which grew, and it was 12 years old by 2012. I didn't want to take it on anymore. I sold my interest to my business partner, and then we took a call from them. And I was lucky. I was fortunate that somebody in 2001 said to me that, Graham, you're not going to make a lot of money out of your business long term. It's just going to be like a well-paid job. You're probably going to earn the same if you stayed in finance, or you kind of went up the career ladder. So he said, generate a business that creates a lot of cash flow, stick the cash flow in real estate, stick it into
Mhm.
assets that make money whilst you sleep, right? And by the time 2012 came around, those assets had done reasonably well, enough to kind of give me the confidence to go and then travel the world
Yeah.
on our terms. It wasn't like, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to make passive income stream. I've got to make an online income stream within 6 months or we're out.
Yeah.
So at that time I had a bit of space. So I'd say to
Yeah.
anybody, either you're going to jump in the deep end like Riley and just figure it out because you're a survivor, or if you're not that kind of person, then go with some kind of comfort. At least go take the trip, but know how to make money on Upwork or wherever it is, freelance
Yeah.
before you do it, or have something on the way. Don't leave it all to chance when you're out there.
Yep. Yeah. Comes down to your comfort level, your level of risk, and I say, how fucking burnt out are you at your job? Like, normally I tell people, like, just if you have a good job, you're making good money, stick it out as long as you fucking can. But there comes that moment of burnout. It's like, I have no fucking choice. Like, I can't go. I'm not getting in my car to drive to the fucking work. I'm done. And that actually happened to me. I was doing the door to door sales, like
Mm.
hustling, and there's just one day I was like, I just pulled up to the block. And I do not want to get out of my car. And I was already, consuming the 4-hour work week and everything, and just like so ready. And it's just like when you're ready, you're ready. When there's that moment. Um, what like so for a past version of yourself, um, young 20 something, thinking about going location independent. What are like the tips, the words of wisdom, things
Mm.
to watch out for if someone's just starting a remote career and just sold their car, or either thinking about making the blast off and want to go location independent. whether that be, as you said, like a week, 52 countries in 52 weeks, something as extreme as that, or just, come out to, Bali
Hmm.
or Singapore. Like, what are your main kind of like lessons learned and wisdom you share with the young hustlers?
Hmm. And old hustlers too. There's a few out there.
No, totally.
It's not write those guys off. So yeah, I mean, I would say it all comes down to money at the end of the day. As much as we like to think it's not about money, money is going to be the key factor in all of this. That you do not want to be ruled by money, but at the same time, it's going to determine your success at this. That obviously the more financially secure you are starting out, the better your decisions you're going to make. You're not going to be in survival mode, and you're going to be able to make decisions more on what's important to you in the long term, which is really going to be the key to happiness. What's going to make you happy, as opposed to just kind of like making sure you can make, bank at the end of the month. So I think having a good financial base before you go is important. Figuring it out is hard work and it's chance. Building some kind of assets or knowledge of how to create money online before you go is important. Stick with the job, do the Saturday, Sunday side hustle until you can get that thing off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can make a better decision about it. I think the other thing about, the importance of money is that it's no fun being broke in paradise, is it?
Yeah.
It's great living the Instagram lifestyle, but if you don't have any cash, I tell you, that's going to be hard work being in that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think, especially there's a lot, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this, Riley. There's a lot of literature in the location independent world about these sort of, dream lifestyles. It's a bit like the gym weight loss before and after photos. It's like, can you get down to 7% body fat? It's like, why can't you get to 7% body fat? Like, what's wrong with you? Look, it's this easy. Or you just have to follow this formula, right? It's the same a little bit with location independence, like 100% passive income. It's a myth. Like, there's no such thing as 100% passive income. Like, even the people who get close to that don't actually want 100% passive income because they still want to be active. And I would say to everybody, is like, just be cautious about all that kind of literature that promotes, like, you can just kind of sit on a beach with a laptop and just watch all the dollars roll in. Because actually, if you're an entrepreneur, that ain't going to make you happy. Like, just doing nothing ain't going to make you happy. If you're an entrepreneur, what makes you happy is, doing more of the stuff that makes you happy. It's as simple as that. If talking to people, if hustling, if challenge makes you happy, create a lifestyle where you can do more of that rather than, here's a Instagram sunset and let's see how many likes I get for that. That ain't going to make you happy. If you're an entrepreneur, surely not. You like challenge, you like the resistance, you like the struggle. That's what you're about, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that, just training your mind to focus on the signal rather than the noise in the world of location independence. And, what you do with your podcast is great, Riley, because you give people a platform to tell their stories, and not all of them are going to work for you or anybody listening, right? But there's ones that you can find that will work for you, and just be, conscious of that fact as well, that there isn't one strategy for location independence. I think people can have a lot of self-doubt, can't they, when they look at these pictures and say, why aren't I like that? Why don't I have a drop shipping outfit that's generating 6 figures every month lying on a beach in Bali?
Yeah.
Not many people have that. The reality is most are sort of the 99% of doing are still hustling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You only see the success stories on social media, right? You don't see the 99 other ones that, tried, and it didn't work out. And so, but yeah, that's part of the entrepreneur journey is, usually your first business or your second business is not the one that takes off and makes you all the money. After talking to hundreds, maybe even 1,000, like digital nomad, location independent, whatever you want to call it, friends, it's like, oh yeah, I started doing this, but now I do this and now I'm successful. It's always your first. And so that's one of the huge things is I always talk about. Oh, great. Your first whatever business didn't take off. You're part of the course. That's actually normal. It's very rare if your first project like takes off and makes good money. Obviously not impossible, but yeah. And the other exciting thing post COVID now, even more and more remote work opportunities with the big companies and every company are working. There's more and more and more remote work positions. It was already going like this per both of our podcasts and books, and now COVID just
Mm.
accelerated it. So on that topic of location independence and the future of remote work, like what advice are you giving to people who may be be employees, but maybe they want to take um, that leap to work, because everyone's working from home now, right?
Mm.
But the next step that people got to figure out in their job is, how do I work from another country?
From anywhere.
Be it yeah, from anywhere, be it
Mm.
Mexico or Bali or different time zone. And so, yeah, what are the tips, tricks, hacks? I'm sure you have a lot of, you're talking about this, helping the corporate people
Yeah.
go remote. What's the news? What are you seeing?
Well,
Tips,
isn't it
tricks, hacks
funny?
you can
Think
share?
about it, Riley. That if you think all the way back to 4-hour work week, when that idea was first really floated in the mainstream, that you could live anywhere. I mean, there was sort of variants of it before. Tim Ferriss kind of wrote the book, but this idea that you could kind of go out there with a backpack and live anywhere. Now, if you think about it, that's now percolated into corporate thinking. So, I spend most of my time talking to corporates, working with management consultancies, professional services firms, and it's adapted. They don't talk about digital nomads, obviously, in their world, but they're sort of taking on these ideas that have, for a decade or more, been floating around in Chiang Mai or Canggu, and that's in the corporate world now. So that's the reality. In the same way,
Yeah.
you've seen those kind of shifts, haven't you? Like, vegetarianism was sort of a fringe, or veganism, or even things like sustainability. These are all fringe, hippie subjects, which have now become very much mainstream. If you go, for
Hmm.
example, if you talk to a company like McKinsey, the largest management consultancy in the world, they're talking about sustainability and the future of work, right? 30, 40 years ago, that was hippies only talking about this stuff,
Hmm.
backpacking and,
Yeah.
like green issues. So I think to realize is that this is real. This is happening now. This is out there. This isn't just digital nomading. This is work. This is
Yeah.
the whole corporate world at play. They're trying to figure it
Hmm.
out. And I
Yeah.
think, one of the problems is that we have this sort of functional fixedness, which is this sort of psychological bias, which is that we only see things as the way that they should have been always done, right? It's always been done like that. So a good example of that is cars. Like, we drive to work. So you say, well, why do you need to earn all this money? Well, I need to buy a car. Most people buy a car, and it's an expensive outlay, isn't it? After tax income, you buy a car. And why do you need to buy a car? Well, I need to drive to work. So
Yeah.
why do you need to drive to car? To buy a car. So it's like that sort of strange kind of functional fixedness that we've got in the world of
Hmm.
work. Once you take that away, if you think about it, that's 40 to 50% of after-tax income for the average person spent on a car. I'm not just talking about buying it, but maintaining it, running it, parking it. It spends
Hmm.
95% of its time not moving. And
Hmm.
when it does, just one person in it, right?
Hmm.
Once you take that out of this idea of career and work, you could probably survive, enjoy life on half the salary of what you were earning before. But people say, no,
Hmm.
I can't move to Bali, or I can't go here because I'm earning this much and I'm going to earn half of that working remotely for another company. But you're not commuting. You're not spending all that money worrying about this thing that's just sucking money out of your bank account every day. So
Yeah.
that's the tip. Get over that. The tail wags the dog so much in the world of work. Everything around that, so much of what we earn actually is spent on our ability to earn that money. So cars,
Yeah.
clothes,
Yeah.
eating lunch at the office,
Yeah. Why do you need
having
that?
2 weeks in the sun because you're so stressed out from work in the office, right? So you think, take all that away. What's left? You don't need all
Yeah.
those things, right?
Yeah. Cars. Yeah. Gotta have a car. Like, ever since I sold my car, I haven't, had a car or need for a car. But, of course, once you reach a certain level of income, stupid money, then you can just buy cars as like toys. But yeah, exactly. There's like less need for cars, and we're gonna have another podcast in 5 years when we got the fucking autopilot Teslas, driverless,
I don't
driving all
mind
around
that.
the cities.
Yeah.
Just wait, folks. We're not even
You
started.
can live in one of them things.
Yeah.
Just keep
Yeah.
driving you
Just
around.
wait
You
till the
save on your rent.
driverless Ubers are coming. That's coming in like a year or two. So yeah, just getting started on this whole technological thing. This is just still the very beginning. We haven't even gotten into the full metaverse, where we're doing podcasts in a few years with fucking the virtual reality goggles, and like the YouTube viewers can like walk around, and we can like high five the YouTube viewers and like meet them
You
virtually.
reckon? But
Like
here's the
that's
thing, Riley.
coming.
Don't you remember Second Life? Like years ago when that thing
Oh,
was
like
out.
like Sims. Yeah.
Yeah. Even I think Nike bought an island in Second Life for like $1.5 million or something. And everyone was like excited. Second Life, Second Life.
And that was back then, yeah.
And then it just kind of sort of the whole thing degenerated into this sort of dating, sort of like sexing app for people who kind of got left over, the hangover of those, when all the corporates left, became like a dogging app, right? So all these kind of hookups in Second Life. So the thing kind of
Here's
faded.
the better Second Life. Quit the regular, 9 to 5 corporate life. Second Life is out here, location independent.
Yeah.
Obviously we're in our own bubble. We're all doing it, and most of the guys are into it and doing it that are watching this. But it's a better life. Being location independent, it's just a fucking better life. Having
it's a
everyone talks
mindset,
about
though,
freedom,
isn't it, right?
options. Life is about options. So being able to choose where you are, in the world, and so fuck 2 weeks. I like to say recently, 2 months is the new 2 weeks. Like all the time. It's like, last year we did fucking 2 months in Croatia. That's unheard of back in normal world. Unfucking heard of. No one, most people you talk to have never done 2 months in another, vacation destination. But we're out here, doing multiple years. And so, yeah. Where were we talking about? Second Life, metaverse.
Second Life.
These things are coming. How adaptive, they will get. But anyway, the point is this is still just the very beginning of the technological revolution and the possibilities with the technology will allow us to continue to work remote.
It's the mindset, though. That's the key part here.
Yeah.
I think that the technology has front run the mindset, and simply there's a difference between being digital and doing digital. Doing digital is just doing your current way of working, but in the world of digital. And being digital is basically taking advantage of all of that. And it means being able to live and work anywhere. And with that meaning, you don't need a car, you don't need a job title, you don't need all the trappings of the corporate world that really define your identity and your story. And once you kind of declutter that, once you're able to free yourself of this, then you really do take advantage of what it means to be digital and live that second life, live location independence. And it doesn't mean that you have to do 52 countries, 52 weeks, all of that. It just means that you can take advantage of this as and when you want and live life on your terms. That's really what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. Digital nomad mindset. And I have a video. It's called something like the location independent professional. It's like it's just buzzwords like digital nomad, remote work, but obviously I'm a fan as well as hashtag no label, hashtag no title, because titles just give perceptions to things. And so whatever you want to call it, but as we were talking about before we went live, it's like I try to communicate these days, like you can have a hugely successful career and you happen to be location independent. Like there's plenty of rich motherfuckers very successful motherfuckers running multiple businesses, and they just happen to be location independent, meaning they can be anywhere in the world that they want. They can still get their shit done. A lot of them just from fucking just from their phone. And so, and so that's what I try to communicate. Like it's a mindset, and you can, set up, integrate location independence into the businesses that you start and the career path that you go down. And I try to communicate that to the young hustlers. It's like, okay, you are engaging with me in some way because you found out about digital nomad, location independent, work remote destinations like Bali or Canggu or Mexico, whatever. Okay. It may mean, if that's what really fires you up, and if that's your dream to have location independence, be able to travel the world whenever you want. And I've asked a lot of people online and real life this kind of survey question: what is your dream? Most people integrate travel the world in some shape or form of their ultimate dream. And so you got to back up. Okay. The only way to be able to travel the world wherever you want is to be location independent in your career. So some people that, going down a road, being a pharmacist or doctor or lawyer, well, it's just not going to work doing that. And so you kind of got to back up and, think about what are your most important values. If you value being able to, live in France for many months at the time and live in different countries, while, operating in your career, then you got to pick a career that's suitable for that, and, not be a car mechanic or something like that. And so, these are some of the conversations that I have, because sometimes you got to back up and think, rethink, what is my dream and what type of lifestyle that I want? Because, as 18-year-olds, we're chose, okay, what do you want to study in college? AKA, like, what career do you want? We have no idea what we want as a 18-year-old, even when we graduate, like as a 22-year-old. And so,
you don't know what's possible.
These are some of the, yeah, exactly. You don't know what's possible. And so these are some of the messages I try to get out there. It's like, it's okay to pivot, just because you have a degree in this or this or this doesn't mean you're glued to that path. I'm an example. I have a degree in fucking biochemistry, but I decided, that's not for me. This life is, my ultimate goal is to be able to travel the world. That's, and so that's what I.
Well, even if you take those lawyers, for example, there are options. You take something like law, which necessarily is tied to a place or a jurisdiction if you want to practice, for example. Well, that lawyer can still not necessarily practice, but can still make money online, can still make money remotely with people. Maybe not in the same way, but they're going to have to adjust. They can still offer counsel and advice. There will be limits, obviously, to that. The important thing here is that what holds them back is not that, because lawyers are smart, intelligent, and ambitious people, is often the other stuff. It's like you're trying to fly a balloon, right? And you're trying to pull on the burner harder and harder to fly higher. But the problem is that that's not going to make you fly higher. It's these sandbags that you've got in the balloon that's weighing you down. You throw those things out. For a lawyer, and a lot of these people who have chosen these careers, it's not the fact that they can't make money in a location independent world, is that they are tied to the stories of success that hold them back. So if you're a lawyer, you're successful because you have, you're a partner in this law firm, or you have this big shiny office with all these underlings, or you have this nice car, or you live in this area of town. Again, the tail wags the dog. Stepping back means understanding, what story are you telling in your life here? Is it somebody else's narrative, or is it your own? And the courage in that is really being able to write your own story and to say, despite what aunts and uncles and all the good wishes of all those co-workers around you may think and feel about your career, is being able to step outside of that and say, I need to do what I want to do. And that
Yep.
may mean, for example, taking a huge hit in your salary, but then you don't have to live in this part of town to commute to work and have all these expensive suits and holidays. And you can live in a cheaper place in the world, right? So you could probably end up coming out cash financially the same, if you lived somewhere else, but earn a quarter or a fifth, 20% of what you earned before. But people are scared of doing that because they'll look at you and say, he's a failure.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this reminds me of, it comes down to how bad you fucking want it. I say that for about so many things in life. Getting down to 10% body fat, quitting the corporate to go remote, going on a date, asking that girl on a date, breaking up with your girl, moving to a new city. It just comes down to how bad do you want it? And so that's when it comes down to, looking inside and, doing your value checks and what do I really want and how bad do I want it? And that's usually what people do. If they don't do it, well, you don't want it bad enough. And so, yeah, classic example, lawyer. You totally can use those skills and that knowledge to go remote. Start a startup, fucking legalzoom.com, tons of lawyers on all these freelance sites. And so, more and more careers can be done remotely. I love this word, figure outable. It's all figure outable. If you want it bad enough, you will figure it out. And so that's what it comes down to. And, certain people are more motivated and ambitious than others, so the message, that you and I try to do is just people who are leaning down this path, just, I say, kick them through the door. Like, it's going to be okay. The worst comes to worst, as we said at the beginning, if your remote thing doesn't work out, just go back to what you're doing before and try something else.
You're going to have stories to tell, at least, right?
Yeah.
At least you say, we gave it a shot.
Exactly. Like, I met so many guys that, came out to Chiang Mai and, tried their e-commerce business and gave it 6 months, didn't work out, went home to snowy Montreal, Canada. And, shout out to Eric Engels. This was 5 years ago I met him. And then actually just last week he texted me, bro, I just sold my first e-com store for $80,000. I was like, classic story, went back, hustled. And then this is like his third store, And so you just got to keep trying. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, that's the story of life right there.
So you feel like people pay too much attention to what other people think of them. That's really the barrier, I feel, that I think a lot of people do want it quite badly. What holds them back is the expectations of other people. And that's actually the hardest part. It's like we talk about fear, for example, like, the fear of going out and doing this. And really the real fear is not, you're going to go to Chiang Mai and the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get something stolen, or you're going to lose something, or, you're not going to get internet connection. It ain't the end of the world. Like, there's a lot bigger crises going on in the world at the moment. But the real fears that we have are what other people think of us. Is the fear of rejection, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of, you nailed your colors to the mast. You went out backpacking and saying how you're going to do all these things. And then you come home saying, I didn't make it work. That's what people are scared of. So, the real challenge here in location independence in this lifestyle is other people, is what they think of you. And if you really care about what other people think of you too much, you will not be able to do this. You will not be able to make it work. And that's why when you look at entrepreneurs, especially successful entrepreneurs, they're a bit on the range. If you talk about personality profiles, they're a bit sort of out there at the edge. You take Elon Musk as an example. Any entrepreneur who's been successful has basically at some point made a decision that they care more about that than what other people think of them. So really, that's what it's about. If you pay too much attention to those people and what they think of you, that's what's going to stop you. That's what's going to hold you back. And if you want to change that, just change the people you hang around with. That's the problem. If you're hanging around with people who are holding you back, then that's the problem. Do you care about your relationship with them more than what you want to do with your life?
Yep. Perfect example. Eric Engels again. He texts me on Instagram like all the time. He's like, bro, like sending me a voice message. He's like, I just need to hear your fucking voice, bro. Nobody around me gets it. Talking about e-commerce and work remote and Chiang Mai and entrepreneurship. He's like, nobody around me. They're all just fucking 9-to-5 people. Nobody. I can't even bring these topics up. Like they'll laugh. And so what he did, which is a huge life hack, how I kind of got into the game, is came to a conference out here. It was in Chiang Mai. This is fucking 7 years ago, where you surround yourself with all these same location independent, like-minded people, all these entrepreneurs, digital marketers. You make your friends, at the very least, make 10, 20 Facebook and Instagram friends. So you can start to surround yourself in that digital community, what you start to see on Facebook posts and Instagram, and then, ideally become real life friends with them. And so, boom, huge life hack right there. I talk about so much. Come to conferences around what you're trying to do. You meet everyone there, and then you meet your new friends. Huge life hack. Also, there's many online hangouts, Discord, Facebook groups. Just get involved with it. It's way too easy to connect with like-minded people. These days. There's no fucking excuse.
Listen to podcasts.
And then,
there's
podcasts.
Listen to this
get
one.
Get in the communities that are around those podcasts. With the guys have a Discord group, like, start talking and engaging with these people every day. And then, but back to people worry about what other people think about them. 100 million fucking percent. And the first thing that the young hustlers are held back by is, and this starts in high school, is their parents and their grandparents. And I have this conversation a lot with young hustlers. I want to do this, but my grandma wants me to have this degree. And lots of people. This is the fucking norm. Lots of people that I meet, local people in Asia. Oh, I just graduated, or I have this degree. Oh, why'd you get that? Because my grandma wanted me to have this degree. Oh, well, you're doing this tech startup. Like, why did you finish college? Why didn't you just, well, my parents, like, I did it for my parents. They want me to have this degree. And so, yeah, it's a tough situation. It depends how, it's one thing or another where your parents are paying for it, or you're going to debt with college. That's a whole nother rabbit hole we can talk about, college. But, many guys, one of my best friend that I met out here at the conference, Evan, dropped out of college after 2 years, and his parents were crying. How could you? They think he's going to be out on the street, a bum without a degree. This is our parents' mindset. But he had the balls to look internally and think, what do I want? And school is not what he wanted. So he looked into doing his own thing. And now he's a successful motherfucker. Just did a recent interview with him on my YouTube channel out here in Bangkok, at our fucking penthouse in Bangkok, called like College Dropout to Ballin' in Bangkok or something like that. So you guys, if you're curious, you can go watch that. But tons of motherfuckers skip university, drop out of college. It can be done, but I get this all the time. Getting around your parents thing is one of the hugest obstacles. And I tell people, like, and this isn't my ebook or whatever, like, because it's a huge thing. You got to have that conversation with your parents. Mom and dad. Blah blah blah. But I'm an adult now. I'm 18, and no matter what path I choose, you're gonna love me anyway, right? Of course, they're gonna say yes. And then you gotta just yeah, let them understand and show them that it's just not the same economy anymore. College degree, it just isn't the same as what it was when they grew up. And so our parents grew up with these dreams ever since we're babies, graduating college, be doctor, lawyer, blah, blah, blah. It's just a completely different world now. And helping our parents understand that is a big thing for our generation.
Well, they've come from a different world. The starting point of that conversation
Yeah.
is empathy, understanding where they're coming from, and not seeing them as really a roadblock in the conversation, but understanding what their drivers are. You have to understand that generation came from another generation which knew poverty. Like our generation won't know poverty. Like not having the latest iPhone is not poverty. Their generations knew like what it was to not have food, or maybe even being homeless. I'm not talking about on the streets, but living with other people. Those are real. So that drives people's career choices. And education, for a lot of people, was the only way to escape it. There was no other option. So we have to respect that. Is that it's not to kind of stonewall these people, but they have a position which they've come from, right? And that's what's shaped everything about their understanding of money. Later generations are different because they haven't had those same adversities in their growing up. They had a lot more longer leash to play with, right? To go out there and experiment. So just understanding that, I think, is important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not their fault. They were raised by our grandparents, which were in a completely different age. And so, exactly
Well,
what you
they
said.
knew
We got
war,
to
they knew
understand
poverty.
them and still love them, because at the end of the day, they want what's best for us, right? And so, but they just, it's, well, some parents are different than others, but for most, of our parents, boomers generation, it's some is harder to grasp than others. This technological explosion that's the biggest revolution in fucking history, bigger than the fucking industrial revolution, enlightenment, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
You'll
It's
make a
happening
deal.
right
Like
now.
if you're in that situation, go to your parents and make a deal and say, this is what I'm going to say to my son. So I'm sure if somebody says that to their parents, I mean, he's 16 now. I say, like, if you don't go to university, I'm going to give you half the money it would cost me. Use that money, invest it, start a business, travel the world. Don't gamble it, spend it on women or booze. I mean, make good of that money in your own education. You then get to do what you want and design that. And I save half the money it would have cost me to put you through college. That's a win-win. So maybe that's another way of pitching it to your parents.
Yeah. I've heard that before. And so, maybe it comes down to, making a presentation, make a full, for parents, if that's how you got to explain it, show all the stats, college degree, even the mainstream news, like, CNN, CNBC and stuff talks about the devaluation of college degrees. And so it's even mainstream now. Like, people know it's just not the same. And
well, Google doesn't
so
require a degree, so I think that's a good starting point, isn't it? When the big tech
exactly, and people don't know that, like, the big tech companies don't even care about a degree. They want talent, So start doing. You're a coder. Start fucking coding. Get on Upwork. Start
build a
making shit.
portfolio, guys. That's the
Yeah.
like go. When I hire people, the first thing I look for is not their degree, but what have you made? Show me. And what have you done outside of what people paid you or told you to do? And it's like, what have you done? Like, if you're a coder, show me something you built. And like, if somebody can show me that and say, like, I built this thing, this app, this website, whatever it may be, it's like they've done a lot more than the average person. The average person has just done what they've been told to do, which was what the teacher or the parent told them to do. You'd be amazed how much is empty in those resumes today. People have done stuff on their own accord. Just do that.
Yeah. That's the new way. The new career is portfolios, have your own fucking website, and putting stuff out there, Yes, exactly. Apprenticeships, the Gary V method, DM all these entrepreneurs in your space. Hey, here's something I made for you for free.
Yeah.
Boom, they're going to hire you doing that. And so it's just a completely different marketplace.
They've got to have a different mindset as well. Like I get people
Yeah.
pitch me like all the time for internships, and they send me their CV or their resume. They say, "Do you have any positions?" I'm like, "For what?" And that's it. That's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, where are the people
Yeah.
that came back, like you said, and said, "Look, I had a look at your website, and I reckon that if we do this and we create this landing page, or you know how it is, like you want
Yeah.
somebody to take that initiative. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Somebody
Exactly.
like write your own job description, and then just get in the door with these
Yeah.
companies."
I see value, this specific thing that I can provide to you. It's going to help you go, I can do this. Here's examples, case studies, boom, 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 boom. This is, this is, 2022 101. Shout out to Francis. Thanks for all the questions and
Hey,
comments,
Francis.
and watching from 4 years ago. OG subscriber, seeing the Vietnam videos. Awesome, bro. And he made a good point. Someone said people want to travel, but as a lifestyle often means you don't have a consistent community, can be difficult long term. What solutions are there for this? Francis came right in. I found communities everywhere I've been. Nomads are everywhere now. Yeah, 1,000%. Nomads are anywhere now, everywhere. Just quick Google search, quick Facebook search, digital nomads, Chiang Mai, digital nomads, random fucking city. It's easy to connect with like-minded people anywhere in the world. Would you say
It
so?
has a lot to do with time as well. I would say, and what I found from when we traveled is that if you slow things down, you connect more. That temptation to, where are we going next is always in your mind. But if you were to slow things down, make connections, for example, we lived on the Canary Islands for 2 years, put my son into the local school up in the village in the mountains, and just really connected with the community because, I wanted to learn Spanish. I wanted to get my son into school. I wanted to meet local people. I didn't necessarily want to always hang out with nomads either. And, I wanted to hang out with local people and learn their culture, which I think is important. You've got to have that balance as well.
Yeah.
It's great to be part of these nomad communities, but connect with your local community as well, because otherwise you may get into this echo chamber, and that may sort of drive you nuts. But slow things down, get into the community. Otherwise you kind of miss out on all the beauty of travel. It's like, learning different things, new cultures, challenging your mindset about how things are done, all that thing. I think that's the beauty of travel. You slow it down, spend a year, spend 2 years somewhere. You learn the language.
1,000%. 1,000%. We were just talking recently last week, like, dude, we got to get involved in, more community projects and stuff. So stuff coming soon. But yeah, 1,000%. It's, I have a lot of tips about this. And one of my tips of, in my ebook, whatever, is things I wish I did sooner. And that was make more local friends. And, not just having, your nomad group, but, take initiative to make more local friends, something I really wish I did earlier.
Yeah, I think that's great advice.
Then,
it's easy to get into a comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a bit of a them and us type thing as well, a bit of an expat thing, which is not healthy, I
it's
think.
just there's expat, that's another word for it. There's expat communities obviously everywhere, and then nomad refers to someone who works remote. But get involved in the local communities, shops, businesses, whatever. And then the other good, like, pace of life. You said slow it down. It's something I think about all the time, every day. And for me, a lot of that means pace of your daily schedule. And so one of the things that come with location independence / running your own business is to control your daily schedule. When you work, when you go to the gym, when you eat, when you go to sleep, when you wake up. And so in my kind of nomad roadmap, it's like, okay, there's kind of two elements to this freedom thing. So location independence, being able to be in any city in the world that you want. And then there's the fucking schedule independence, daily and weekly schedule independence, which is huge. Just being able to sleep in if I don't feel well or don't feel rested is worth, it's priceless. It's worth millions of dollars. And so that's a whole another element to the entrepreneurial journey, is to not be beholden to someone else's schedule. Like I can set my own schedule, my call availabilities, podcast availabilities. And so that's a huge thing just to improve your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, accept as well that you're a human being with that some days you will knock out 16 hours in front of the screen programming, and some days you just won't have any love for it. And you will need to be flexible with that. That's important. You know, that's the key to happiness as well. I think, you know, on top of that, I would say to those people that are thinking about the lifestyle or currently doing it and maybe asking questions, probably underlying all of this is set goals for yourself. I'm not talking about big sort of hairy lifestyle goals. I mean, that's a different conversation, but like, why am I going here? When you go to a place and tap into the community, what is your goal? Like, why are you here? And what is the goal that you've set yourself? Because things are going to change. You're going to get blown around by the winds of circumstance, buffeted around. And if we're going to get why I'm here, and that may then cloud your decision making, because there may come a time when you need to leave and move to another place because it's not fulfilling you in that goal. I've always set goals when we've moved around. When we moved to the Canary Islands for 2 years, it was so we could get my son into school and I could do the Ironman. That was it, 2 years. And then when we moved to Japan, it was so I could get my son into school and he could learn Japanese. He could do 3 or 4 years there. And then when we came to Singapore, it was to start a business, to start a podcast business, grow that to such an extent that, and also get my son into school there so he could graduate, grow the business to an extent where we can then take a call on the next chapter. So I've always set goals. I think that's been really important, you know, in terms of happiness with location independence, because you can float around and do this stuff. That's fine. But I think you make better decisions in the long run if you set yourself goals. Like, why am I doing this? And if it doesn't allow me to do this place, whether it's Ho Chi Minh or Bangkok or Chiang Mai or Canggu, wherever, if it doesn't allow me to do this, then time to move on.
Did you, with those goals, always set timelines or dates with them?
That's a good question, actually.
Have you found that helpful?
It's often those timelines are arbitrary, aren't they? So it's difficult. I mean, in the case of, like, you know, doing an Ironman, you did it. That was like 1.5 years. And once it's done. Challenge over. So time to move on. With like getting my son into school, it was like getting up to, you know, a certain grade, moving to Singapore. Well, I knew we would be here until he was 18, for example. So they did kind of have natural hard stops, if you like. So that helped.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think like you could keep moving.
If it's, you know, it's probably, you know, let's say the race is only once per year or whatever. So it's like, all right, 2023 Ironman, like I'm in that shit.
Right.
That's so
you got to do it. Right.
The hard stop dates I found are good too. Example, a yearly conference. This is how I first came to the conference in Chiang Mai. It was like much earlier in the year. It was like January or something. And then I heard about the Nomad Summit conference in Chiang Mai coming up in October. And Park and I, now my best friend now lives out here with me, run our business together. We're going to that conference. We bought our tickets. And so these kind of like micro commitments stuff, where it's like you can't miss it or it's gone, I found helpful.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It creates a rhythm, doesn't it? Which is naturally, we like rhythms as human, the seasons and stuff like that. And, you know, Christmas, end of year, New Year, we've been trained, you know, like school year, all that kind of thing. And so this creates a sort of a rhythm that we've lost in this location independent world, is that, you know, we work towards something. It gives it this sort of cycle. And then, the next cycle begins, right? You can take new calls on what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Joseph, thanks for the question. He says, I think being a nomad with family can give you more sense of groundedness. As a single person, it's more difficult to find because of the transiency of people in the lifestyle. Yeah, this is a great one, and I actually just filmed a video recently that should be published soon about the truth about loneliness as a digital nomad. And quick summary of that video. I came up with this recently. Loneliness can mean different things, and I was like, there's actually 3 different levels of loneliness. There's your companion, your crew, and your community. Companion, your one-on-one, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, one is with you every day. That can be either there or lacking. And then your crew, I see, is like your best 2 to 5 best friends. You can be in a really tight crew, like your besties. If so, that could be there or lacking. So you can be loneliness on that level or another. And then community, people want to feel as part of a community, and whether you do or you don't, you can be lacking or not on that level. So that's a little sneak peek of the podcast episode I have soon. But yeah, what are your you've been a nomad with family, and then did you start off single or
Did I end up single? No,
I mean in your remote life.
No, we were a family before we went. So, but I think the loneliness is double really for nomads in that, or any location independent lifestyle. One is that you're location independent, and 2 is you're an entrepreneur, and they're both quite lonely professions because you don't have a lot of contacts. Obviously, there's a great community there where you are, and you can tap into these people. You've got conferences and so on. But when you're an entrepreneur as well, it's quite lonely. Often it's not easy just to turn to somebody and say, I've got this problem, or what do I do about this? I mean, increasingly there are options for that, but you don't have that kind of team around you that you would have every day necessarily if you were working in an office, right? So that makes a difference. With families, it's a little bit different. I mean, obviously you've got that support around you, but it doesn't mean it isn't lonely as well. A family can get lonely because, obviously if you've got 2 adults and a child, the needs are going to be different. The child needs to play, needs kids to hang around with and knock around with, right? And then, you're as a couple, you're not necessarily going to go and hang out with nomads all the time in these sort of wild parties, right? So it's different. I'm not saying it's easier or harder. It's just different, right? And I think the main part for any family or anybody traveling together in a couple is that you've 100%, you've all got to be on board with this, because it will stress test it. I guarantee it. It's going to pull at every fault line in your relationship, right? When you're hungry, when things aren't working out, whatever it may be. So if your SO ain't on board, or your family ain't on board with the idea, that will soon come to light, right? So that'll just be my own experience, is to say that, that's something that needs to be worked out before you go.
Yep. Yeah, we'll check if you're on the same page, for sure. As anyone knows, like even traveling with friends, like, after a week, it really tests that friendship.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's hungry at different times and just like tired, and like, same thing with any relationship with friends, relationship with family, relationship with girlfriends, boyfriends, spouses. Traveling together, and you guys have probably heard many couples say this. You don't know if your relationship, you don't know how strong it is or weak it is until you've traveled together, or like done like a backpacking trip for a few weeks.
It's in the pressure cooker there, right there.
Yeah.
Even though, but I would say that the upside of it is that it does create some amazing experiences together. Like, we'll always remember some, just small episodes, like mountain biking in New Zealand together as a family, things like that. Or, like snorkeling in Fiji, we created those, you create something together. I think that's the important part. It's like, while you do this, create these memories, because, that's all there is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There isn't
That's
anything
it.
else apart from that. Just these kind of like small vignettes of what happened, right? And everything
Yep.
else will kind of fade.
Yep. Yeah. We're born and then do a bunch of shit and then you die. That's all we know for sure. That's pretty much all we know for sure.
That's a
So you just
fact.
got all this time in the middle. That's all we know. Um, let's see here. Growth to be had in getting better in local
Yeah.
culture. Keep your child in school.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Thanks.
I'd say with that comment from Joseph about the school is that you figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like, we managed to get him into a Spanish speaking school and nobody spoke Spanish in our team. None of us spoke English in their team, but it worked. It's quite
Yeah.
amazing, really. I think, you find, I'm sure a lot of your audience find this as well. When you travel, if you can't speak a language, but you meet somebody who wants to communicate with you and you want to communicate with them, you figure it out, right? You somehow figure it
Yeah.
out. And that's the beauty of human beings. We've got that ability. So I think if you stay optimistic and try and work it out, you find ways around that.
Yeah. Yeah. We have that ability to figure it out. And the thing about these days is we have something called a fucking supercomputer in your pocket that can translate 1 second. And so I can't
That helps.
communicate. It's called fucking Translate app, people. Okay. Use it. Google Images, show pictures of stuff. I do all the time. But in the main cities and main areas, language barrier is usually not an issue. But if you get out there on the outskirts, you have a phone. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. It's too easy. No excuses these days. Everything is figure outable. If you want it, go fucking do it. Preaching to the choir here. Thanks to the 7 bros for watching. Billy, you came in a little bit late. Other strategies to earn income online. That's like follow me on Instagram at Living That Life TV. That's one of my main goals is to help more people figure out this location independent journey for those who want to make it a reality. And so any other stuff going on that you want to talk about, or last words of wisdom from the OG location independent entrepreneur?
I don't know if these are words of wisdom or I'm the OG, but it's been great being on the show. It's been fun. I would say words of wisdom.
Yeah.
I just, like the main thing is you see this journey that you're on, location independence, is a story that you're writing. And it's something that once you understand a lot of what we create in our lives is nothing but a story, then you really can change a lot of the outcomes as well. Think about, for example, this idea of success. Success is a story which you can write yourself. And once you understand that idea, it changes so much in what is possible. And not just being a successful nomad, but being successful, making yourself happy as well. It's a story that you can write yourself. And if you can write that story yourself, that is success in itself. That is important to find out, I think, for everybody. Learn how to tell your own story, whatever that may be. Whether it's starting a podcast like Riley here, that's one way for him to express his story, to give other people a platform to do that as well. Everybody needs an outlet to tell their story. And the better you get at telling your story and committing it to the stage, getting feedback, facing rejection, the more you can kind of make sense of it. I'm 50 years old. So a lot of my life has been a lot of dots. I did this AI degree, went to Japan, started a telecoms business. Doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. But the more you tell your story, the more you get feedback on it, the more those dots become a coherent narrative. And I think for everybody out there, because all these wonderful experiences people are having in location independence, and they're kind of all a bit disjointed, and trying to make sense of that, learn how to tell your story, and it will create that kind of cohesion in your own mind and narrative that this thing actually makes sense.
If you want it, fucking go do it. It reminded me of a phrase that I haven't said yet, but do you. I love that one. Do you. Like, fuck what your parents think, your grandparents. That's so
You do
fucking
you.
important, people. You do you. Like, there's so many of these perceptions of what is success. Like, it sounds corny, but fucking follow your dreams, follow your heart. What the hippies say out here in Bali, but because it's fucking true and very important. Yep. Ain't that right, bros? Cool. Well, yeah. So, Graham, yeah. What is your podcast?
So, well, I have a podcast agency, help other people tell podcasts, mostly corporates.
Ah,
I've got a you know, most of my podcasts are projects. So I've just done my last one. The longest one I had was Asia Tech podcast, which was 503 episodes.
uh-huh.
I stopped that because I just kind of wanted to make a point that I could do podcast. And now, like, for example, as you see here, I do podcasts with sort of business people around Asia.
Mhm.
So Tony Fernandez, obviously the founder of Air Asia,
Uh-huh.
podcast with him, which has been a lot of fun. Yeah, these kind of things are now just working with corporates and helping people guest on podcasts, which I think is the next big thing. Because
Uh-huh.
now, there's so many great podcasts out there. If you want to get your story out there, it may actually be better for people to guest on other people's podcasts than start their own.
Mm.
So I'm enjoying a lot of that, helping other people on their podcasts, which has been a lot of fun because you see it a little bit differently than doing your own. And you're kind of forced to
Mhm.
learn the playbooks in a different way.
Yeah. 100,000%. Well, yeah, we'll probably be in touch because, as I said at the beginning, I got to step my game up and organize my podcast. But at the beginning phases, stages, still just building the team over here at LTL LLC. Just hired a camera guy to shoot a lot more content, and so yeah, life's a journey, And so this is my passion project, and so um, you know,
Awesome.
gotta
You
make
know,
the money first, and then
173, right? Episodes. Is that right? Did I get that right? I mean, that's a good passion
it's
project.
over. Yeah, it's over 100. It's something like that, and so yeah, it's
173.
been yeah, and I started dudes on my phone just doing selfie videos walking around the park in Ho Chi Minh City. And so, as Francis saw, so there's no fucking
It's
excuse.
a
You can have a
journey.
podcast with a phone.
There you go. Isn't that
Yep,
cool?
yep,
All these
yep.
people have been on the journey with you as well.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Fucking awesome. Thanks for the cast. Yeah, that was great. Great one. Um, I gotta run to a thing in 30 minutes. I'm sure you're very busy too, off in Singapore. But yeah, great to connect. That was a great conversation. I think a lot of people are
Nice,
gonna
Ronnie.
love it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on your show. Enjoyed
And
this.
Joseph says, "Are you on social media?"
You can find me on, LinkedIn's the best one for me. I do have an
Cool.
Instagram. Try to keep it quiet on Twitter. So moving off that, just find me on
Cool,
LinkedIn,
cool.
Graham Brown
Yeah,
podcasts.
cool.
That'll be me.
Yeah, cool. Sweet. And that's his website. That was just up here. If you guys need to step up your podcast game, hit him up for sure. All right. Thanks, guys. Peace. See you on the next one.
See you all.
All right. And all right. That was great.